Wish I was at home for Christmas.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. We hope everyone out there had a wonderful Christmas yesterday. But we're not done here celebrating. We've got one more holiday episode that we're going to knock out. And John is going to be offering me up a song to go off and give a listen to that fits that bill. But I don't know who the artist or the song are just yet. So, John, fill me in.
Well, the artist is Jona Lewie, and the song is Stop the Cavalry.
Okay. Um, I don't know anything about Mr. Lewie, or I have any idea or recollection of having heard this song in the past. So this will all be new to me.
Yes.
What a
Well,
Christmas gift.
enjoy.
Even if a day
But
late.
yes, Boxing Day sales now on.
Right on. Right on. Well, let me go off, give this thing a go, and I will come back and let you know my feelings. Charge.
Hey, Mr. Churchill comes over here to say we're doing splendidly. But it's very cold out here in the snow, marching to and from the enemy. Oh, I say it's tough, I have had enough. Can you stop the cavalry?
That's interesting. Those horns come blasting in. That's nice. Um, you know, for a song that is, I mean, at this point, they're painting a picture for me quite literally on the with this, video of being at war during the cold winter months and being away during Christmas because of something so serious as warfare. But and I would say that, I mean, out of the gate allusion to, Churchill. I'm assuming this is either World War One or World War Two. Um, but it's got this kind of, I don't know, musically kind of upbeat, humorous feel to it. This bouncy rhythm to it with like what sounds like synthesized accordion, uh, which is an interesting choice when you're trying to capture something so serious. But it does have, uh, dare I say, levity to it because of that. So that's an interesting dynamic, given the subject matter. But yeah, so far, interesting, interesting narrative. Um, and I love how these horns came in. So I'm going to take it back a little bit and experience that first verse and how these horns kind of make their appearance.
Doing splendidly, but it's very cold out here in the snow, marching to and from the enemy. Oh, I say it's tough, I have had enough. Can you stop the cavalry? I have had to fight almost every night down throughout these centuries. That is when I say, oh yes, yet again, can you stop the cavalry? Mary Bradley waits at home in the nuclear fallout zone. Wish I could be.
Wait, I'm sorry that he's away from Mary for the holidays, but what I assumed was World War One or World War Two is now kind of up in the air because something about a nuclear fallout zone. I don't think those were present during those two wars. But interesting stuff. Yeah, let me take it back a little bit. Yeah, it definitely has this like kind of like anti-war, bring the soldiers home for Christmas feel, which we've heard in other Christmas songs in the past.
Again, can you stop the cavalry? Mary Bradley waits at home in the nuclear fallout zone. Wish I could be dancing now in the arms of the girl I love. Wish I was at home for Christmas.
Oh, this sounds very Christmassy.
Bang, that's another bomb on another town. Wilders are and Jim have tea. If I get home, lift up, tell the tale. I'll run for all presidencies. If I get elected, I'll stop. I will stop the cavalry.
Sorry, John has said this so many times that it's now. I mean, I believed it before, but there is something humorous about the tuba, and it has this interesting sound that kind of almost naturally brings a smile to my face, kind of this like Pavlovian reaction. So again, it's got this like droll nature to the music that is, you would think, antithetical to the sentiments of, a soldier off in such horrible conditions, is fighting in the cold, approaching and retreating from the enemy, and how all they want is to be home with their lover or their families. It's just interesting dynamic between those two things. Trying to reconcile in real time, but I mean, it sounds good. It's just an interesting mix. Yeah, this too.
Wish I was at home for Christmas. Wish I could be dancing now in the arms of the girl I love. Mary Bradley waits at home. She's been waiting 2 years long. Wish I was at home for Christmas.
It's a quick little number. Yeah, this song touches on things that other sort of holiday centric songs have touched on before in the past, which is this idea of soldiers being away from their families, and their partners, all fighting wars, and it's a really sad price they have to pay to fulfill their duty. And it's a sacrifice that not only they're making, but so are those aforementioned loved ones. And that's tough. They miss these soldiers. They miss such, monumental life events and all these opportunities to make memories, especially on holidays. And I can't imagine what that's like and how tough that can be and how taxing it is. It's interesting to hear that, and from a narrative standpoint, it was captured perfectly. But it's interesting to hear that narrative held up against dum 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 dum, and these kind of droll sounding horn patterns and stuff. But I don't want to beat a dead horse. It was a good song to capture the sentiment, that should not be forgotten or overlooked. This experience of soldiers away during the holidays, especially in such gruesome conditions as what was depicted here and kind of outlined in some of his lyrics about how cold it is, and the act of pressing on your enemy and retreating from them. Yeah, it's a great message. I can see how this would resonate, especially with the UK, folks in the UK, because of their history in both world wars. I mean, it would resonate here as well. Uh, but yeah, I can see this being popular for sure uh, across the pond. And it's sweet, and I hope he got a chance to dance with his Mary. Yeah, good stuff. Interesting to learn more. I've never heard of this gentleman before. Nor have I heard the song, obviously. So I'm interested to learn more about it from John, who can fill me in. So let's get back to him.
Wow, Dooligan's Christmas Jumper, he's back. So, if I'd listened to Jona Lewie, Stop the Cavalry,
Yeah.
I would just preface this by saying this is my favorite Christmas song.
This is?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Do your
wow.
worst.
Okay. Well, things kick off with the trumpeting of and it's very brief, but this trumpeting of a military like bugle. At the charge is exactly what I wanted to do upon hearing that. But much to my surprise, the song shifts to this almost bouncy motif that's provided by what sounds like a synth mimicking an accordion or something like that. Um, Really interesting sound for what is being captured, like both from a narrative standpoint and visually through the video. I don't often equate this kind of jovial, bouncy sound with the lamentations of a soldier at war who wants to be home with his family. So interesting dynamic there. No, I must admit, I first found it a bit odd that the sound had this almost like levity to it from like a musical standpoint, right? But I will concede that there is a marching like pace to it, which does a good job of connoting this onward progression of soldiers' boots on the ground. But man, if I was in the middle of, France in the freezing ass cold in the middle of a world war that I didn't know when was going to end, and somebody was marching to this beat, I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? But all that being said, it did translate a bit. The singer, I assume, Mr. Lewie, begins singing the first verse with references to a Mr. Churchill, whose work I am familiar with, fighting in extremely cold conditions, and the cavalry he wants stopped. And I'm beginning to think, as I alluded to a moment ago, that this is World War One, maybe World War Two. Just my knowledge of history. And then the great flourish of bugle returns, bolstered by an ensemble of other horn instruments and drums. And you have said it so many times, and it is, for me, a natural musical truth that the most comedic of instruments is the tuba. And here we have it, shining in its very comedic way. And again, I'm left thinking, why are they making this fun? Why is this fun? Because that's not, I don't think that's the intent of at least again, the narrative. So yeah, made me laugh and kind of scratch my head a little bit. I think in the next verse, he makes a reference to a woman named Mary waiting for him at home in the nuclear fallout zone, which, well, again, I'm scratching my head because he had me in France in the trenches, and now all of a sudden we're fast forwarded to the end of World War II, which, by the way, there were no fallout bunkers then. That didn't happen until more of the Cold War. So I'm thinking, what the hell are you're conflating history here? But whatever, it's scanned well. It just may have not been historically accurate. So yeah, I was a little confused by that. But the sentiment still resonates with me. He wants to be home and she's without him. And after a bit of it's like some really, again, playful is the only word I can think of, like vocalizing of the dum-a-dum-dum-dums or whatever he's doing there. He then delivers the line, "I wish I was at home for Christmas." And this part is the first, like, it all had like a wintry feel to it because he's talking about how goddamn cold he is. But this really was the most Christmassy part of the whole song, or first introduced this aspect of Christmas into the song. And I can't say that I blame him or anyone who was ever in a situation akin to this wanting to be at home rather than where they were. So I can understand where he's coming from. And for the first time, I'm feeling this like holiday-like vibe of the song. And it's not just because he directly referenced Christmas. You can now hear the siren song of any Christmas song, as we've talked about before, and that is the sleigh bells that are now injected into the instrumentation of this number. We get treated to a bit more of that vocalizing from earlier, the dum da dum dum. After he proclaims that he was that if he was elected, he would stop the cavalry. So again, he laments that he won't be home for Christmas, and how he wishes he could be in the arms of his love, again, this Mary, who's been waiting without him for 2 years. He then bookends these sentiments with another "Wish I Was Home for Christmas" before more bells, synth melody, and the horns carry us to the end. And I take away the playful melody and the droll sounds of the horns, and you're left with the sad truth of many soldiers who've this shared experience of being away from, home during the holidays or their family during major life events, and how being off at war sort of robs them of that and robs their family of experiencing their presence in those moments. So it's not. It makes me appreciate what I get to experience. You know what I mean? Which is to never have gone through anything like this, and to not really take that for granted, and to remember that there are people, you know, not exactly in war zones now, but have been throughout history, and even as part of their duty, whether they're at war or not, have been away from their spouses and their families, and in some cases their young children, during these really important times throughout the calendar year. So it's sad, and it gives you perspective about, despite all the funness of the song, it does give you perspective that I think is important to remember when we're going through the holiday season. And one could argue that these sentiments, that this idea of, a desire for peace or an end of war, or, empathy for your fellow man, should probably not be exclusive to certain dates and times dictated by a calendar. But alas, that's not the case. So I'll take it where I can get it. But yeah, this is not my favorite Christmas carol I've ever heard, but I do enjoy the sentiment of it and the feeling behind it. And I could see this really resonating with folks over in the UK. Especially because I saw in 1980, there were people around then when this came out, that weren't far removed, but who had lived perhaps as children during World War II. And so that this, I don't know, probably resonated with them even more so than it would to someone who can apply a little bit of perspective. This was perhaps a shared experience for kids whose fathers or parents were off or displaced because of wars that were going on during Christmas times past. So for that, I appreciate it very much. And it is it's fun, but it's just oddly fun because of what he's conveying through the narrative. So those are my 2 cents for whatever they're worth, which I'm sure is actually less than 2 cents.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. Yeah, I will just say that this is of a time and a place, definitely, and for me, it was my grandparents who lived through the Second World War. But it's very of its time, 1980. It is a lot of fun as well. And it's a different take on a Christmas song, and it's quite interesting. So I'll get into it. It's not a lot about Jona Lewie, really. So he's an English singer-songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. He is a 2-hit wonder. and both were in 1980. So we had the hit single "You'll Always Find Me in the Kitchen at Parties," which is a humdinger, and then "Stop the Cavalry." "Stop the Cavalry" is an anti-war song, um, and it was released in 1980, as you saw. The song peaked at number 3 in the UK singles chart in December 1980. At one point, being kept from number 1 by 2 songs by Mr. John Lennon,
I
who
was
had
just going to
been,
say December 1980. That one of the
yeah,
first things I think of is the assassination outside of the Dakota. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
December the 8th,
yeah.
1980. So I don't know which two it would have been. Imagine, I guess, and another one. But yeah, so that's what kept him off the top
Wait,
charts.
would have been his Christmas anti-war Christmas song as well? Maybe.
Oh, Merry Christmas, War is Over is probably the one that would have been number 1 then. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. I
yeah,
think
I
that
didn't look it up.
would
I
make
can't remember.
sense.
But yeah. So Looney Jona Lewie himself says, I was playing about on my grandmother's piano and came up with a particular refrain I liked and kept coming back to. A little germ of an idea had been planted in my head, but one that didn't fully come to fruition for about the next 5 months. The first lyrics I thought were actually, "Can you stop the gallantry?" about the gallant soldiers of the Crimean War and especially the charge of the Light Brigade. This later became "Stop the Cavalry," and I widened the perspective of the song to be about all wars and all soldiers.
Hmm.
A Salvation Army brass band was recruited to play the main melody.
Oh,
Um, Mr. Louis goes on to say the song actually had nothing to do with Christmas when I wrote it. There's one line about the soldier being on the front and missing his girlfriend and wish I was at home for Christmas. The record company picked up on that from a marketing perspective and added the bells, and away you go. And this is it here on 7-inch, my own copy. A nice little picture. It's a beauty. So there you go. I will get into the lyrics. Hey, Mr. Churchill comes over here to say we're doing splendidly, but it's very cold out here in the snow, marching to and fro the enemy. Oh, I say it's tough. I have had enough. Can you stop the cavalry? I have had to fight almost every night down through these centuries. That is when I say, oh yes, yet again. Can you stop the cavalry? Mary Bradley waits at home in the nuclear fallout zone. Wish I could be dancing now in the arms of the girl I love. Wish I was at home for Christmas. Bang, there's another bomb on another town while the Tsar and Jim have tea. If I get home, live to tell the tale, I'll run for all the presidencies. If I get elected, I will stop the cavalry. Etc. Wish I was at home for Christmas. Wish I could be dancing now in the arms of the girl I love. Mary Bradley waits at home. She's been waiting 2 years long. Wish I was at home for Christmas. Ding, 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 ding. And there you go. So yeah, just some notes here. The lyrics obviously mentioned Cavalry and Winston Churchill, who was the First Lord of the Admiralty in the First World War. And he actually, prior to serving in the trenches himself. And then it breaks the First World War theme, references of nuclear fallout and, out of fight down through the centuries. Louis described the song Soldier as being a bit like the Eternal Soldier at the Arc de Triomphe, so
okay.
representative of all of them. In 2022, it was reported that the song was listed as the 7th highest royalty earning Christmas song, obviously in the UK. Louis had said that the royalties received from the song account for about 50% of his income stream.
Jeez.
I mean, it has platinum selling status with over 600,000 copies sold.
Wow.
Mr. Louis himself is apparently still going with the self-released album Are You Free Tuesday, coming out in 2024. Not heard
Good for
it.
him.
I imagine it's charming.
He's looking for that elusive third hit,
Yes. I think I told you about John Otway. Oh yeah, he's a character, really, really funny. So he had a hit with Wild Willie Barrett called "Core Baby." That's really free. Um, and he got cult status following, and there's some great songs. And I saw him live at Glastonbury in the acoustic tent, and it was a magical evening. But he got together with his I don't know, sort of group funded, and he did a song called Bunsen Burner to the tune of Disco Inferno, and it's really really funny. And it got to number 39 in the charts, so it just
Wow.
crept into top 40. And he goes, "At last, I can bring out my greatest hits compilation," because he had more than one.
I
So
can
yeah, I think
pluralize
this.
the word hit.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a really funny, charming bloke. Yeah, so I was really pleased for him. I think everyone that contributed, their name was listed in the sort of the inlay of the CD.
Mm,
It's like, dozens and dozens that helped him record it, funded it. So that's cool. So I think Mr. Lewie is probably in the same boat. I
yeah.
think he's another one. You always find me in the kitchen at parties is another great song that's a bit funny, this synthy pop sort of, and he's got that sort of charmer, stroke chancer sort of tone to his voice as well. But he's sort of making out. He's always end up doing the washing up when everybody's having fun in the other room. And yeah, I really, really like this song because it's slightly different to most Christmas songs.
Yeah, it is that.
I think if I'm really being honest, I probably love it because of the dub 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 and the tuba, because I just think it really cheers me up. It's funny,
Yeah.
and it's a great message without being too sort of po-faced about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. It's 80s. I was talking to somebody at work. I said the absolutely mental one-hit wonders used to get at the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s were just bizarre. And this is definitely comes from that same punnet of bizarreness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. So there you go. I'll wrap things up. Thanks for listening, Sandy.
Nice for all of you.
Folks out there must be some fans of Stop the Cavalry. Is it Britain's greatest Christmas song? It is in my eyes, it is. So there you go. Tell us what you think. Drop some comments and I'll hear from you. Hit that like button. Of course, you want to. It is Boxing Day. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And help build the channel, and that could be your gift to us. Sorry I didn't get you anything, but here we go. That being said, thanks so much for watching. And we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
Happy holidays and happy New Year, guys.